So the Packers beat the Arizona Cardinals 27-23 thanks to a 4th and 2 conversion where it looks like the Packers are going to take the field goal to take the tie with a couple minutes left, 23-23. And honestly, in the moment, I thought that was the right decision just because it's 4th and 2. You don't get that. You go for it on 4th down. I mean, the Cardinals could potentially win that game. The Packers change their mind. They call the timeout. They send the offense back onto the field. And then Jordan Love throws a pretty 15-yard pass to Tucker Kraft. They move the ball down the field and then score a touchdown. And then the Packers defense comes up big in the end, and they win this game. So even though it wasn't pretty early on, even though first half it's 13-6, the Packers offense looked pretty sluggish. A couple field goals, a couple, not converting on 4th down early in the game. Jordan Love overthrows Romeo Doubs. But thankfully, when it mattered most, the Packers came through in a big way. Jordan Love came through in a big way in a very high-pressure moment, 4th and 2, where you have to have it. Jordan Love plays very good football. And then on that final drive, Micah Parsons comes through, gets a big sack, and, Micah Parsons had an incredible day. So even though this game was close, even though, against the Cardinals, who I think are a very good team, clearly we've seen them the past few games play some really good teams really close. Unfortunately for them, they just have not been able to close off these games. And so I thought coming in this would be a very close game, and that's why I picked the Cardinals in this one, just because I had thought that the Packers, a lot of times this season, have played down to their competition, and I felt like this could be one the Packers could lose just because of how close the Cardinals have played other teams. Thankfully, I was wrong, and the Packers came through in the very end and win this game. And so looking at this Packers team right now sitting at 4-1-1, they're not perfect. They're not a dominant team right now. The first 2 weeks of the season, they looked like a dominant team, and it felt like they were going to win a lot of games, in a pretty convincing manner. Now, that hasn't necessarily been the case, and the first half was pretty concerning. A lot of this game was concerning until, third quarter, the offense comes alive, Jordan Love starts moving the ball, and the Packers are able to finish this one off. But there's some pros and cons here. I think the biggest positive is that the Packers have Micah Parsons, because if you looked at this game without Micah Parsons, I don't think the Packers win this game. He had maybe around 10 pressures, 3 sacks, in some of the biggest moments he comes through and is the difference maker defensively, and that's why you trade a ton of picks for a player like Micah Parsons, because when an opposing quarterback, they have to pass it, they're trying to win the game. When you have someone like Micah Parsons, he just comes through and he makes big plays in the moments that matter most. And so that's where if the Packers did not have Parsons in this game, I'd say the Cardinals probably win this game. So that's why you have Parsons for games like this, situations like this, where when you need a stop and you need your guys to come through, you can count on someone like Micah Parsons. So it's great to have him on this roster. And so all in all, 4-1-1, things could definitely be better. There are a lot of things to clean up, but at the end of the day, when you win the game, it's like, okay, thank goodness, it's a road game. You win the game, you come through in the end. So many NFL games are very close, and so you need to be able to win these type of close games, because come playoff time, you're going to be in close games, and it helps to have that confidence that you've been in these situations before, you've been in 4th and 2s before, where it's a make or break play, and you make it happen. And so thankfully the Packers ended up winning this game. Now, looking at the reality of what went on lots of this game, first half the Packers offense struggles. And this offense looked really good the past 2 previous games against the Cowboys, who have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and against the Bengals, who also have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And so to see the Packers offense struggle in the first half was very concerning, just because this isn't a dominant Cardinals defense statistically. They came in the 14th best scoring defense. And so just watching that first half, I'm thinking to myself, man, the Packers, they struggled against the Browns defense, which is very good. They play good against the Cowboys for the most part. Very good, 40 points. And the Bengals, they put up, 27? And so I'm like, okay, that's good, but we need to see this against some top-tier defenses, and this isn't a top-tier defense, which is why first half I was pretty concerned. But thankfully, the Packers got it going. And it was almost a different type scenario than the first or the other games this year, just because the Packers, they were showing some of the stats on the broadcast, but they've been pretty good first quarters and first halves and even through the third quarter, but they've struggled late in games. Specifically in the second half, they've struggled to, dominate like they have early on. And this game was a little different because the Cardinals are up, 13-3. And then you have Haversick kicking a 61-yard field goal. And that's a massive difference maker, because if you think about this game, if the Packers did not have those 3 points, it would have been 24-23 when the Cardinals are moving the ball on the field, and they would have been in field goal range. So you take away that Haversick 61-yard field goal, the Packers probably lose this game. Now, things could have shifted that way, but taking away those 3 points, I mean, that's a massive field goal, because the Cardinals wouldn't have had to score on the final drive. They could have kicked the field goal. They were in field goal range, and the Packers could have lost that game. So thank goodness Haversick, I mean, he's come through in a massive way. And, with McManus down, it's like, you wonder, can a backup, can they come through? And Haversick has come through. Now he has I think they said it was the longest field goal in Packers history. So now he's officially in the Packers record books with a 61-yard field goal. So he's been playing incredible. And so that's a big moment of this game to get that field goal. And right before that, Jordan Love throws, I think it was to Dobbs on that one, if I'm not mistaken. A big passing play to set up that field goal before the half. And so thankfully they ended that way, even though all in all, it was a rough first half. But second half, Josh Jacobs gets going a little more near the end there. You could tell the Packers were definitely not unleashing him as they typically do, just because of his calf injury, I assume. But then in the end, when they needed him, he comes through, gets a touchdown, and gets the Packers up there. And so offensively, it was not the best day. I'm looking at just the overall stats here. The Packers all season long have been very good on third down, one of the best teams in the NFL. They were 3 for 10 today on third down, so not great there. And then, looking at total yards, the Cardinals outgained the Packers 330 to 262. And so, there's a lot to clean up offensively. But thankfully in the red zone, the Packers go 3 for 4. Some of the biggest moments, they come through. That's really what matters. The biggest moment, the Packers come through on that fourth down, and then they end up, scoring to give themselves the lead there. So a lot to clean up, but a good way to end the game. You get the win. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Now, defensively, it wasn't a great day defensively overall. The Cardinals go 50% on third down. Outgained the Packers, as I said, 330 to 262. And running the ball, I mean, the Cardinals didn't run the ball that effectively, 3.4 yards a carry. I mean, that's pretty respectable from the Packers defense there. But there were a lot of moments where this Packers secondary was getting picked apart by Jacoby Brissett, who had a very, very productive day. There are some moments where Nate Hobbs was getting beat, other corners, safeties getting beat there. And you look at Brissett, I mean, he's played really good football being the backup. I mean, he almost beat the Colts last week, who are a very good team. He almost beats the Packers this week. He goes 25 of 36, 279 yards, 110.8 passer rating, but he was sacked 6 different times. So that's really the difference maker in this game. Even though the Cardinals were getting a lot of yards, converting a lot of first downs, being very effective on third down, at times picking apart the Packers secondary, the Packers, getting all those sacks in the end, they end up, being, I'd say, a big difference maker, especially at the end there with one of those Micah Parsons sacks. So Parsons has 3 sacks, Quay Walker has 1.5 sacks, and Igbare 0.5 sacks, Rashawn Gary 1 sack. And so they were getting at Brissett all day long, getting back there in the pocket and causing a lot of problems. And, even though Brissett was back there, taking a lot of hits, he played a really, really good football, almost good enough football to win the Cardinals the game there. And there was one of those final plays where one of the announcers was talking about it, where it looked like if he would have hit, I think it was Marvin Harrison, a little quicker, he could have caught the ball, gone out of bounds, maybe at the 5-yard line, and they would have had a closer try there to win that game. So games like this, there's so many little plays where things could have shifted in a big way. And, if they convert there, score a touchdown, this is a much different game. They were close. They moved the ball out on the field quickly. They were, converting first downs. And so thankfully the Packers in the end come up with some big stops. And I think that a lot of credit has to go to Micah Parsons in this game. So overall, looking at this game, the Cardinals are a good team. They're better than 2-5 in my opinion. They just haven't been able to win close games. They're clearly a very competitive team. But for me, I think the first 2 games, we saw the dominance from this Packers team. Offensively, defensively, it felt like, okay, this team, when we play the Lions, we play the Commanders, and it was early on, so things do shift. Week 1 is much different than, where we are now. The Lions have gotten much better than they were week 1, and they did have, new coordinator, things like that. But it felt like we were going to experience a season where there was just complete dominance, where you look at those first two games and you look at this Cardinals game, you'd say to yourself, okay, the Packers should win by, 10 plus points just because of how good the defense is, how good the offense is. But they have struggled at times. So I am still curious, when the Packers play, like a top 5 defense, are they going to be able to win those type of games? Just because this offense against the Browns, who had a really good defense, struggled. And then they've played better. I mean, they came through at the end here. 27 in the end is solid. And so it's good that they finished strong, but they start a little slow. And so I still think the Packers have struggled to play complete games, first half, second half, just really playing good overall football. But in the end, when you get a win, it's like, okay, it's nice to see the Packers win a game like this. But I am curious, how will this Packers team play against an Eagles defense? Offensively, will it be able to get things going in the end like they did here? Or are those type of defenses going to be too tough of a match for this Packers offense? Because at times they can struggle. Thankfully, they finished it off strong. Jordan Love for the day, 19 of 29, 179 yards, 93.9 passer rating. A lot of shorter passes today. And then if you look at the receiving, Dobbs led the receivers, 6 receptions, 72 yards. Kraft, 5 for 58. Matthew Golden, 4 for 37. A lot of those were early on. So the Cardinals defense played really good a lot of the day, and they held this offense in check the first half. They dominated the first half against this Packers offense. And I do think because Jacobs was injured, came into the game with a calf injury, the Packers weren't really focusing on the run quite as much. And I feel like they got away from their identity a little bit. Like if Jacobs had been fully healthy, I bet you see them run the ball more in the first half. But thankfully, in the end, Jacobs finishes with 2 touchdowns. So, all in all, Packers win the game, 4-1-1, and so that's a good way to end the Sunday here today. But if you guys would like more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.